Welcome to another edition of Swim Easy Speed. This is again another special edition from the Pro Camp, and this is session 8. So this is with Alysha Krall, and Alysha had been to actually the first year pro. She's qualified for a pro card for a number of years, but didn't want to take it until she had started to really improve her swim. And she came in 2020. And she was one of the athletes who dropped a big chunk of time while they were here. And, has actually continued on. Her actually stroke is looking really, really good. It's looking really solid. Obviously she still has some room for improvement. But from where she started to where she is now, it's gotten a lot better, and you can see she's put in a lot of work. So here is Alysha Krall. I'm going to let the video play for a while just so you can get an idea of what her stroke looks like, get a feel for it, what we were looking at. Okay, we'll back it up from here. All right, so, some of the first stuff that, you recognize is, we've seen it before. Her head's a little bit higher, body position in the water is kind of off. Her hips are getting pretty close to the water, the surface of the water. The one thing that you can see is particularly when she breathes to I think it's the left. Let's take a look. I think her timing's off a little bit. Yeah, timing's a little slow on the breath right there. So you can see when she breathes to the left, so when she breathes and looking into the camera, so you'd like to see the breath kind of start moving her head right about there. And we really don't get that movement until it's right about there. So then you can see she's recovering, and, the hand's already in front of her head before she starts to kind of put the face back down in the water. Entering pretty good. I mean, the hands first, elbow is quickly right after, but that's body position. That's pretty good. She's picking her head up a little bit, which is one of the things that we tried to work on during the session. And, she does a pretty good job here. I think probably a little bit too much kind of looking forward. You'd really want kind of that gaze right about there. That would help bring that up and basically give her a better angle on the water. She does a really good job, like right here, of getting into that high elbow catch position. You can see where she really surges right there, especially on that left side. So if the head was kind of looking down a little bit more instead of, kind of forward, she'd be up higher in the water and get even a bigger surge out of that pull. And then the right here, you can tell it's good. I mean, it's a pretty good position right there. You can see she drops the elbow, dumps some of the pressure off the hand, so she's not holding as much water there, and doesn't get kind of as good of a surge on that right side. So that's one of the things that, we'd want to address. And then the other interesting angle is when we get up above her stroke. But she's pretty good on the water. And then you can see right here, and what we're going to do is we're going to kind of speed it up and then slow it down. So you can see, when we speed it up, and this is in reverse, you can see how much of that movement is kind of going that way, then that way, that way, then that way, that way, then that way. She's got a little bit of a gap there between her legs when she's moving. And then here's kind of that, we've seen it in some of the other athletes. We've got that curve right there in the body. And remember, what we want more than anything else is just this rock solid line that does not move right down the middle of the body. And that's where just everything, everything is connected up and down that chain. And then everything that kind of you're doing it's all being translated into forward momentum. So, that pull is just going laser pointer straight to the other end of the pool, or the other towards the buoy, or whatever you're aiming at to swim towards. You are getting kind of the maximum amount of efficiency out of that pull and that transfer of power. So a little bit there. This is coming in. You can see kind of is it the left? Yeah, the left kind of goes out. So she does a pretty good job of being straight, and then it kind of takes a detour out there. So we'll back that up so you can see that again. And you can see how it just kind of goes out a little bit. Now that's the side that does a pretty good job of pulling. All right, so here's where we get to see kind of some of the stuff that she's doing. You can see kind of where she picks up her head right before she breathes. And then you can really see where that left kind of comes in and then slips out. So it's in line with the shoulder there, but then you can see it kind of takes that hard kind of turn out there. She does a really good job of correcting for that, but you can tell she's kind of, it just looks a little bit awkward, and she's trying to get a lot of power in the water on that side, but she's giving up a little bit because she's correcting for that movement. So here we go. And then you can see here underwater. So here's where you see where she's giving up a little bit of the power on the right side. So pretty good position right there in terms of that high elbow catch. But as she goes through, you can see, if here's kind of midline, she's pretty far outside of her body right there on the pole. And I'd like to see it a little bit kind of closer in here. That would kind of balance out the stroke and give her a lot of pressure on the water on each side. And then you can see right here, here's what we want to kind of, right here is, you can see the quad, you can see the foot. That's all stuff that really should be tucked up behind your body. And, if you're really looking to get that kind of maximum distance per stroke, we want the maximum amount of basically surface area of your body. The length of that water line needs to be as long as possible. And the longer that can get, the more distance per stroke you're going to be able to get. And then you're reducing drag at the same time. So it's kind of a little bit of a double whammy there. So when you are at an angle in the water where it's not ideal, where you're kind of angled down in the water, you're shrinking your water line. So you're shrinking kind of the maximum distance you can get for each stroke because your water line's shorter. And then with your body hanging down like that, you're just increasing the drag. So then you're getting even less distance per stroke and increasing drag. So those are kind of some of the things that we want to eliminate from the stroke and kind of get rid of. And so this is some of the stuff that we tried to do. So we used, we'll go here on the next one. So here we're using the Mortar, which is Fike Swim's weighted pull buoy. It weighs about a little bit over 2 pounds. And then we also put the Aquavolo, the Voloblades, which is kind of a mid-palm paddle on her. And what we were trying to do was really get her to engage her core and get kind of the front. So the front basically attached to the core, the legs attached to the core, and then everything kind of attached together. And, really, really functioning coordinated as one kind of unit that's really just putting all the power that she can generate onto the water and then moving it forward in a really, really efficient way. So the Mortar, you're going to have to engage that kind of lower core to try and get it to work. You can see here she's having some trouble with her legs dropping. And, that's kind of the stuff that we worked on. So what we did was we took all of it off, and then here's kind of the last video. So you can see that, she's doing a pretty good job. It looks like the right's kind of engaging a little bit more. That was one of the cues that we worked on. And then you can see that the left isn't going out into the side as much. We still got to work on kind of getting that straight line down the body. She's kind of driving a little bit of wiggle into the stroke. But her hips came up. We still need to work on getting the feet up a little bit more. And, that's some of the things that she's going to be thinking about when she does a really, really hard sets in her training coming up to focus on. And, what we talked about in this camp more than anything else was the most valuable resource that an endurance athlete has is their attention. So where they're directing their attention and then how long they can hold it there. And that is definitely a skill that can be worked on and improved. And it all just starts with awareness. Are you aware that you're aware or not aware? And, then you can start really developing that attention and holding it like a spotlight. So you can hold it in place at whatever you want to put it on and hold it there for as long as possible. And that's how we're really going to drive these kind of neuromuscular changes in the stroke that'll lead to greater and greater levels of efficiency. So that was the analysis with Alysha, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, share, comment down below. And if you have any questions, I am always happy to answer questions. So thanks again for tuning in.